After taking office, President Obama made closing the prison at Guantanamo Bay one of his top priorities and said he would get it done by late January. With the deadline a little over 2 months away, there are still some 200 detainees in legal limbo. Now, Senator Lindsey Graham, one of the few Republicans to support the president's decision on Gitmo, says the administration botched the plan. He says there's a war inside the White House over how to get it done. Senator Lindsey Graham joins us now live on Capitol Hill. Senator, welcome to you, sir. When you say there is a war within the White House about what to do on Gitmo, who exactly is fighting with who, in your estimation?
Well, I think there's some people in the Justice Department at some of the mid-levels that do not want to recognize that we're at war. My concern has been that closing Gitmo has to be done the right way. It's being used by our as a propaganda tool and recruiting tool, so starting over would be good. But if we're going to close Gitmo and send the detainees into federal civilian court and get away from the military model and go back to the law enforcement model, then they've lost me. We tried the law enforcement model in the 90s during the first World Trade Center bombing. The evidence wound up in the hands of al-Qaeda. Civilian courts are not the way to try these people. It should be in military courts. Now, I've been told that Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11, may go to federal court in New York and be given the same constitutional rights as any American citizen. That would be a huge mistake, and they would lose me if they did that.
Well, and quite frankly, you have said, and in fact, Catherine Herridge has worked with us on this because she's been covering this for quite some time. You have said that you would like someone to ask the Defense Secretary, Robert Gates, if he would specifically like to see KSM, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, tried in a federal court. And the concern is that he would get the constitutional rights of all Americans. Do you believe the White House wants Khalid Sheikh Mohammed to get the constitutional rights of all Americans?
I think there's some people in the White House believe that if you take him to federal court, you're getting away from the Bush years. Well, if you take him to federal court like they did the blind sheikh in the 1990s, you will have to share with the defense intelligence information. And in the 1990s, that information wound up in the hands of al-Qaeda, the unindicted co-conspirator list. Judge McCasey, the former Attorney General, was the judge in that trial, and he said federal courts will be a disaster. Military courts are what we've been doing for 200 years to try people who have taken up arms against the United States. One last thought. The people at Gitmo are not accused of robbing a liquor store. They're accused of taking up arms against the country. That's a big difference.
Yeah, when you say turn this over, we're talking, of course, about the process of discovery where you have to turn over all the evidence to the defendants. You said the president screwed this up, Senator. And I want to read you now what we have just gotten from Mike Emanuel, reaction from the White House. And they're saying, I'm quoting here, I would note that the president established an interagency task force at the beginning of the administration to carefully review the evidence and intelligence relating to each detainee. The previous administration succeeded in prosecuting only 3 detainees in more than 7 years. This administration is committed to pursuing swift and certain justice wherever possible for those at Guantanamo who have killed Americans, committed acts of terrorism, or enabled others to do so. Your reaction to that comment, sir?
I hope that they're ready to be tried right now. We have a courtroom at Guantanamo Bay that's probably the best courtroom in the world from a security point of view. Sheikh Mohammed is ready to go into court and tell us what he did in 9/11. So my challenge to the administration is we've reformed the military commissions, embrace using them. Tell us what your plan is. Where are we going to put these detainees? How are we going to try them? What constitutional rights will they be given? The recidivism rate is going through the roof for people we're releasing here recently. So what I'm looking from the president is a detailed plan that recognizes we're at war. These people are not common criminals. And what are we going to do with them if we bring them to America? That's been missing. He told us on his very first day that we were going to close Gitmo, and I said, let's try to do that. 9 months later, we have no idea what we're going to do.
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator, thank you, sure. So we should also note that 9/11 families, 200 of them, have now signed on to this letter to the White House saying that they want these 9/11 terrorists tried in federal courts. I'm sorry, in military courts, not in federal courts. Senator Graham, thank you, sir.